Hello and welcome to the DAYZ Vehicles Tools, Parts, Repairs and Locations for people who are looking for a little bit more danger and excitement in the game of DAYZ. So let's have a look at the 6 vehicles that are currently in the game at the moment. We have the Sarko 120. It's a 4-door. It's got a rear engine and a front radiator. The spare wheel is in the front of the vehicle and it stores 300 slots. Next, the Gunter 2. It's a front engine 4-door. It has a spare wheel in the boot and 300 slots. The next is the Adda 4x4, a 4-wheel drive 2-door vehicle with 4 seats, and it has 300 slots. Next is the slightly larger Olga 24. It's a 4-door front engine. It has a spare tyre in the boot and slightly larger storage at 400. Next is the M1025 military vehicle. It doesn't have a radiator or a spark plug, but it has a glow plug. It's an automatic vehicle. It's got a bulletproof windscreen and 2 side windows. The rear windows for the passengers are not bulletproof and the doors are not necessarily bulletproof. We have the M3S, the big transport vehicle. It's a 2-seater. It has no spark plug and no radiator. It has 10 wheels. It drives very, very slowly, but it has space, massive space, 50 logs, 100 planks, 40 metal sheets, 4 wooden crates, 4 barrels and 600 slots. So let's look at the tools that you'll need. When you find a vehicle, you're most likely going to have to put water or fuel or both into it. And all 4 of these containers will hold fuel and water. The smallest one that you have, of course, will take the most trips. The best one, of course, will be the jerry can. Most cars will have enough fuel in them to get to the fuel or gas station, but if you need to fill a container up, simply go up to the pump and do this. Now, for water sources, I recommend using the local water well. You can use other water sources, but please don't drink from that container afterwards. Could get yourself into trouble. Now, when it comes to the battery, radiator and spark plug, all of the civilian vehicles fit the same part. So it doesn't matter which car you've got, they'll fit the same radiator, battery and spark plug. So they're worth snapping up when you find them. Never walk past a spark plug. If you do have a flat battery, it's going to take a hell of a lot of items to charge it up again. You probably don't even want to bother. Just get another battery. To repair panels in the engine, you're going to need the epoxy glue and you're also going to need the blowtorch. The blowtorch replaces the wrench as far as engine repair is concerned. So to repair a panel, you just apply the epoxy or the blowtorch. It will take a number of iterations and you can never get the panel back to pristine. It will only ever take it back to worn. And in this case, it takes a couple of goes to get there. If you find that your engine goes yellow or flashes yellow, the way to fix the engine and bring it back to the way you want it to be is by using the blowtorch. Simply apply it. It's very, very quickly, and then you'll be good to go again. To repair tyres and electrics, obviously we have the tyre and electrical kit. You can find these in industrial areas, in garden sheds, in the train carriages. They're all over the map. Repairing a tyre is very, very simple to do. We've just found one in a shed. We take it into our hands and then we just drag the tyre repair kit. Again, this is like the epoxy. Sometimes you have to have a few passes to bring the tyre back to worn. You cannot fix a ruined tyre. If it's red, it's done. There's nothing that you can do about it. You just have to move on to find another one. With battery repair, if you find the battery is worn or damaged, then you can use the electrical repair kit to bring it back to a good state. Which is what, of course, I'm doing here right now. Now, there are a number of different tools here. We have the screwdriver and we have the wheel brace. They can be used to lock items on cars. It's not really a very good lock because if someone else has got those tools, they can unlock it too. The wheel brace and the crowbar can be used to separate the tyres on the M3S. And so when you do find tyres for the M3S, sometimes they'll be combined, sometimes they'll be separate. So what I'm doing is I'm just showing you here how to combine them first, and then we're just going to split them apart using the tyre iron. It's a very simple process. All right, so now let's look at some vehicles in the field, real vehicles that we found and what we do when we find them. But first, we need to look at the iSurvive map. Now, the iSurvive map is the best way to find the spawn locations and the wreck locations. You can filter them very easily. So if you're in a particular town or a city and you want to look for vehicles, you simply filter them here. But there are a lot of spawn points. It's not an easy task of just going to a spawn point. You can pick up bits and pieces and parts from wrecked vehicles. In this case, this vehicle has a spark plug. Never walk past a spark plug. Keep it on you. They are, they're an essential part, of course, of getting a car going. So here's one out in the field. You can tell that they're different from the other vehicles. They've got a bit of a buff, a bit of a shine. When you first walk up, you need to evaluate what parts are on the vehicle. I think if a vehicle has got 4 tyres, you're really in the money here, because the generic parts are the radiator, the spark plug, and the battery. So that's what I've got here. I'm going to pop in the battery. I'm going to pop in the radiator. Now, of course, if you have put a radiator in a car, you're going to need to put water in it. Similarly, if you take a radiator out and then put it back in, you're going to need to put water in the car. There's nothing you can do. You can drive the vehicle without water, and I'm going to show you what happens if you try and do that. So here we turn the vehicle on, it starts up, and immediately we get a flashing engine light and we get steam coming out the front of the vehicle. This is really a no-go as far as driving is concerned. You don't really have very far to go before the car completely expires. And so let's just run it into a pole. And you have to understand that if you do crash, you can go unconscious and you can die. So, there are inherent dangers. Now, I've ruined the tyres, a couple of tyres on this vehicle. You can drive with ruined tyres, but you can't fix them. They are done and dusted and they are gone. Again, similarly, if the engine is expired on the vehicle, it's ruined, you can't fix it. But you can salvage parts from the vehicle. So in this particular case, I can salvage the battery, I can salvage potentially a couple of wheels and the spark plug. But again, ruined tyres, nothing that you can do. Anything that's red, it's done, it's gone. So here we have adder or an ADA, whichever way you want to call it, 4x4. If we walk up on this vehicle, this is at a spawn point. 2 missing wheels. It doesn't have a spare wheel in there. So it's going to be a bit more of a challenge. Again, it certainly helps if they've spawned with all of the wheels. We've got some good parts there. We know that we're also going to probably have to get fuel and water. Now here's the Olga. Again, it's got 4 wheels. It's at its spawn point as we find it. It's got a spark plug. It's got a battery. It just needs a radiator, water, and fuel. Now I've brought one along with me so we can pop that one in. We fueled the car up using the jerry can. Then we've gone and got some water from the well and we pour it into the radiator. It's a simple case of just walking up to the radiator and dumping it all in there. Again, I can't suggest enough, trying to find jerry cans if you can. You find them full of fuel and you can fill them with water. So here we have, I'm going to call it the Humvee. It's a Humvee. It's got 1 wheel missing. If we walk up to it, you can't see any of the engine details. Now, this is an important point. If the vehicle has a bonnet or a boot closed, you'll need to open it to see what's inside. So from this particular point, we can only see the tyres and their condition. If we open the bonnet and we have a look in, we can see that it's got a battery, it's got the glow plug. That's fantastic. Means, it's going to be fairly easy to get this thing going. If we lift up the boot, well, guess what? We've got a tyre in here. So that means we don't need to get any tyres other than perhaps getting a spare. We can pop that on, jump in and have a look. Now, this thing doesn't really have any fuel, but as I mentioned, most vehicles have enough fuel to get you to to a fuel station, a gas station, if you need to. You don't really have any side bullet protection at all here, but that's just the risk that you take. So an M3S out in the wild, you can usually tell these ones because they have the canopy over them. And again, they have a much more buff look. This one's missing some wheels and obviously doors as well. If we lift up the bonnet and have a look inside, we can see that it doesn't need a spark plug, it doesn't need a radiator, it just needs these wheels putting on, and it needs a battery as well. Now the truck batteries are double sized, they're big, they're white, and they're found again in industrial areas, in the garages around the game. Now chances are this thing is going to need some fuel as well, so we'll jump into it. We'll go for a bit of a drive and see what we can find. Fortunately, we're near some garages here, so I'm going to go and have a quick look and see what I can find. Maybe I get lucky. Remember, these things are very slow. They go almost anywhere. They're fantastic, but they are slow as heck. So a quick look in the garages, and just by stroke of luck, we do have some fuel. To fuel up a vehicle, simply move to the gas tank, wait for the prompt and pour it in. Now, if I've made any mistakes or I've missed things out that you think are important in this, please put it in the comments below. This isn't a perfect video and I don't think I've covered every piece of information. And if you're looking for more information and help with DAYZ, then you'll probably like the next video that's coming up after this. Remember to like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video coming up.